what we've got here today is Ford Explorer. Badged, the build date was September 01 and its sale date was January 2002. And I got heater problems. I've searched everywhere on the internet and everyone says it's agitator or fuse. And I've pulled everything apart. You can see here now, it pulls apart different to I've seen other YouTube clips. The console at the front part here is the only part that needs to come off. It's not a whole clip and take the whole console out sort of deal. Also you've got the shifter in the middle, not on the column. So I've taken the whole thing apart, got the agitator out, and there's nothing wrong with it, and I wasn't happy with that. So you can hear me. Let's see if I can show you in here. You can actually see, just look at the right angle for you. There it is. Now if I was to operate this, see that working? And the other way back to hot. So that works perfectly fine. So if you can see that working fine, you don't need to worry about going through the whole hassle of pulling it out like I did. Had I known I could have seen that working before pulling it out, I wouldn't have pulled it out. So I've gone through everything. I've gone through behind the dash here and trying to find out why when I put the heaters on I have no heat. Fuses are okay, the agitator's okay, everything seems to be okay, except for one thing which I looked at the beginning and I should have stuck with that idea, was had no vacuum on this line here. You can see that there. Where am I looking? That grey vacuum, which comes around to this valve down here. So when it goes in, that's when the hot water's feeding into the car. When it's up, it's just circulating in the engine bay. And that wasn't pulling down when I put the heater on. And it's because of lack of vacuum. So I followed that line right through the car, under the dash, everything. I couldn't find where it ends up, but I can blow and suck on that line with no problems, which tells me I've got a vacuum leak somewhere inside the car, and it has to do with that line only. So for now, how I've overcome it is, this is where the lines go, and you got, this is the one the vacuum line is normally, the black vacuum line here is connected to. That's to the intake manifold, that's always got the suction on it, and goes into the car and supplies vacuum to all the controls on the center dash for when you're changing hot to cold and so forth. Not hot to cold, sorry, from feet to face and so forth, that the doors, the appropriate doors open and closed. So say if you want to have the air blown to your feet or onto the windscreen and so forth. This line coming back out is the one that line there, that's the one that's supposed to go over to that valve I just showed you to open and close that valve. This one here has nothing happening on it. When I put the car running and so forth and check it for vacuum, there's no vacuum on that line at all. So for now, I've put a three-way pass in there, and so I've still got vacuum going to the inside, so all the center console gauges work with opening and closing the appropriate doors. And then I've got the vacuum coming back around and going to that valve. Now I've got heating again. When I start the car, just automatically that valve opens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little air valve switch on this line. probably not this far down. I'll probably put it up here or something that's easy to get to. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to have it so I can just, during winter, I'll screw the little valve in and the suction stops. During summer rather, I can screw the little screw in, the suction stops, and I can use my air conditioning and cooling and so forth. When the seasons start to cool off, I can untwist that valve, and the suction happens onto that heater valve again, and I have heating again. That's the easiest fix for this vacuum problem. I can get a 12 volt vacuum switch in here and wire it into the car, so I've got it on a switch so I don't have to go under the engine bay, but it's really, how often would I be doing that? It's probably pointless. That'd just be more fancy. You could wire it in. There is power behind that heater switch inside, which I'll show you. Okay, so you got that controller here for hot or cold. Should turn the ignition off. Now you can see that's all power controlled there. If I wanted to, I could find out which one becomes active when I put the hot water on, wire in a switch to that point, so when I put the heater on, the switch under the custom switch that I'd add would activate, and you basically would be none the wiser. Everything would work how it should. Having the heater always on, not a good idea during winter or whatever, because you're kind of like confining a spot under the dash that's consuming heat and it's not going anywhere because you're not using it. So I don't like that idea. So it is something that you'd only have turned on during winter and turned off during summer. Okay, so there's I'll give you all a bit of a look of what else to expect in here. Stereo's out. Always helps to have a bit of a bird's eye view on things, doesn't it? I think I've got something on the lens maybe. No, it must be just the sunlight, the angle it's coming in. Now what I can't find on this car is the fuse box inside the car. I'm told that there is one in here. I've looked under here where the glove box is. I've looked under the driver's side and there's nothing under here. No signs of a fuse box anywhere. We've got a fuel reset option there. I don't know what that's about. The only fuse box I know of is under the bonnet, so yeah, it gives a heads up if anybody knows this model well enough to know where the fuse box is. So that's about it for that section.